This is Isaac with SE Wolverines. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on. Incidences like this, I just think it's part of the problems that we have been facing. It just seems like these incidences are just coming real repetitive lately. Just back to back to back to back to back to back. You know, COVID, J6, the war in Ukraine, Israel, the pipeline explosion. Our borders are wide open. Chinese nationals coming in the country when we face a possibility of going to war with China by protecting Taiwan, taking away our energy, deliberately slashing our fossil fuels. All this stuff going on, to me, is not organic. This is a controlled collapse. You can think whatever way it's coming, but to me, it's an organized collapse. And it's just not happening here. It's happening in Europe. It's happening worldwide. Going on, we could sit here all day long and speculate and probably never will receive the right answer of what happened anyways. So you can put a lot of your time and effort into trying to figure out what happened in either incident in Russia or the bridge collapse. But the bottom line is they happened, whether they're all connected or not. In the bigger picture of things, I think they are connected. My whole thing is realize what's going to happen because of that. The reaction off of it. What's going to happen because of those things that happen. That's what we gotta kind of put our focus in and realize that we have a job to do as far as preppers go. That when we see incidents happening like this, make sure we keep the eye on the prize and realize that this stuff is going to cause other stuff, other reactions off of this, whether it be the supply chain disrupted, resources might take longer to be rerouted, might take longer to get something compared to if it was coming into this harbor or not. So what's happening because of these things happen? And put your focus on your preps and your supplies, and all this stuff is just one piece of a puzzle making the bigger picture of the whole collapse that, in my personal opinion, somebody's trying to orchestrate. Or if they're not, we got a lot of people that's running things right now that are a little naive, and you can see these problems stacking on top of one another and causing a greater effect to those that are in need of things. You know, you can see all these little problems stacking on top of one another that's creating a overall bigger effect, contributing to the collapse of America. And we're going through it right now, and hopefully it'll stop. But to me, it's not gonna stop, y'all. It's just gonna get worse and worse and worse. I've told you my opinion. Again, I hope I'm wrong. You can think whatever you want to think. You can have anybody that in the upcoming elections and thinking they're gonna save it from doing it, but there's stuff that are out of their hands. We have no control over our money system. So until we get control of it, if we have an economic collapse, there's little anybody can do if that happens. Little to next to nothing. And we've seen that previously. The pandemic hit. There was things that people could have done better, but some things are out of the politicians' hands, y'all. Some of it's out of their control. Now, they could try to help fix it in any way they can, but sometimes things are out of their hands. And I just think whatever is orchestrating this is something that's going to be out of their hands. That's the best way I could put it. You got a wide open border. There's Americans that are struggling. They're giving monetary funds to people that aren't even part of this country. And what happens if we go through an economic collapse and you take that monetary funds that you're giving away to people away from them? Now they feel like they were owed that. You take that away, and you're going to have a lot of upset people. You take people that are in need of assistance from our government in the form of welfare, Social Security, disability. You take those things away from those people, and you're going to have a lot of upset people, and you're going to put a lot of people in a position that are counting on those things in a bad position. So just that in itself can create problems now. So I wanted to make a video about the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is the collapse itself. All these little things that we see going on with the war in Ukraine, the border, the crime, is just another piece of a puzzle. adding to the picture of America collapsing. The inflation, the money printing, it just goes on and on and on. So I wanted to just make sure we're aware of what our focus is. It never changes. No matter what is happening around us right now, we have time to focus on our preps and to focus on resources, to gaining as much resources as you can. And I want to stress the importance of relationships. We have time to form relationships right now, but the key to all this, to make sure you make it out on the other side, is relationships. It's going to be very hard to go through this yourself. You're going to have to establish relationships with people. And while we have time right now, my suggestion to you would be to put more effort more than ever. You can see what these things are coming, and they keep coming and they keep coming. They make you take a step back, wonder what's going on. But we got to maintain our focus of our overall objective, and that is gaining as much resources. Form those relationships now to help prepare you to make it out the other end of this. The more you can prepare right now, the more relationships you can form right now, the better off you will be to make it out on the other side of this. Yeah, we got all these little things going on behind the scenes. In a way, they are a distraction if they're keeping you off your main objective of what you got to do to gain resources and to form relationships with people. Now, of course, people want to be self-reliant. The more self-sufficient you are right now, the better you will be, because you're not relying on someone else to help you get by. But in a grid down situation, you want to have self-reliance, but also have relationships to help get you by. You know, depending on what expert you talk to, you know, they estimate anywhere from having 12 to 50 people to have a self-sustaining community. So you want to identify people now and form those relationships now, so you can gain trust into people and people can gain trust into you. Seek out and have relationships. The more you get to know a person, the more trust you will gain. And if there's something that happens, the more people are going to trust one another. We have a hard time trusting one another as is right now. So trust is definitely going to be an issue. That's why you establish trust with individuals now. The better you know a person, the better trust can be established between one another. We have an issue with trusting one another. As is, you incorporate a collapse into the equation, and trust is going to be hard to establish with one another. You know, I'm not sitting here saying it's the end of the world. I'm not saying that. I don't know if it is or not. Even if something like that happens, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world. But more people, like-minded individuals that think of this stuff, the more likely they'll be around on the other side because they're being prepared for it. But it might be a thing to reshape America how it really is supposed to be. There's so much corruption and so much evil stuff going on inside this country. I don't want it to collapse, but if it does, the more like-minded individuals and the more people that are prepared for something like this, if a collapse ever happens, there could be new opportunities that form to make America better than it ever was before. A new modern day renaissance, so to speak. I think you're going to see, instead of a big country, you're going to see small little pockets. When these areas break away, they're going to be forming their own rule of law. States splitting off in different areas. Maybe it could be county by county. Maybe Northern California would be separated from Southern California, or East Oregon to West Oregon. There's going to be splits in all over the place instead of one big country in itself. So the more like-minded individuals that are getting prepared for this, the better off you're going to be in recognizing others that have the same mindset as you, and you got to identify them, and you have to form a relationship. It's very hard to prepare defenses and for security by yourself. You're going to need somebody to watch your back, y'all. You got to sleep. You have to sleep. You can't be on guard 24/7 and get everything that you need to be done by yourself, as far as water or getting food or just doing everyday chores and being by yourself. You're going to have people to help you. And there's going to be people out there that try to take advantage of the situation. And you got to ask yourself, are you going to be on the good side and help out your community? Or are you going to be on the bad side and try to take from others? And you're always going to have those people. People are going to be forming gangs and be part of a marauders coming to your area, and you got to be ready. And you're going to have those people trying to take advantage of situations like that. So to be by yourself, and you can be Rambo. You can be Rambo himself. You go against 50 people to one person, you don't, that's not very good odds. I don't care how good you are. So you're Rambo, so to speak. You got through the first 50 people. Well, what happens when the next 50 come? And the next 50 after that? Eventually, your luck's gonna run out. If you're in a city right now, y'all, it's time to leave. Try to make a way. If you're unable to leave, is identify someone that you could go to outside of a city, because the cities, when they break down, it's going to be chaos in them. The more people that are in an area such as a city is the more things you have to worry about. So if you're in a city and you're unable to move or leave that city right now, because it's about that time, in my opinion, make sure a cousin, a friend, whatever, that's outside that city, someplace you could go if you think it's gonna break down. And you're gonna have refugees going from cities spreading out to rural areas. You don't want to be a refugee on that road, because you never know what you're gonna go up against. You want to try to identify when something like this is happening, when it comes down to the nitty gritty, and either get to where you're going to be, or you want to go, or stay where you're at. Now, sometimes you might be forced to leave where you're at, but just to go if something like this happens, and say you put a bug out bag on and you just flee out into the wilderness by yourself, to me, you're asking for trouble. The people in little towns are going to unite. There's safety in numbers. Little towns will have to defend themselves for protection and guard its resources. Towns are going to have their own laws, and laws can change from town to town. You might be in this town over here and they have a set of laws, but then you travel to another town and they could have a whole completely new set of laws. People are going to bond together to solve problems. You need to bond with others, and you have to establish those relationships now and identify people and what they do. Identify these people and form relationships with them. You're going to need people that can solve problems, that can help you solve problems that you have in different areas. Focus on people's expertise in areas. You'll need somebody that's good at construction. You'll need people that are good at medicine and medical, people that know how to extract medicinal plants in the wild. You'll need a handyman, somebody that's just good with their hands and building stuff, a engineer, welder, a machinist, whether they're a doctor, a dentist, people that know how to garden, people that are good with animals, that are like a vet, food harvesting, food extraction, people that know about defense, people that know about herbs, people that are good at butchering animals. Maybe it's your extended family that you're going to have if society breaks down. You all live in an area, your cousins, your sisters, your brothers, your nieces and nephews. It could group that you identify with. It could be, just your neighborhood and your neighbors. But you got to identify people and form a relationship right now while you can. When I see all this stuff going on, these bridge collapses, the economic problems that we're having, it just seems like they just keep stacking. Just more weight added on the world's shoulders, and it's gonna give. You take that bridge and you look at that bridge and all the problems keep on stacking on top of that bridge, and it gets heavier and heavier and heavier, and soon that bridge is going to collapse. You open up borders, have wide open borders, you let a whole bunch of people in here, and then you're giving them monetary funds. And if those funds are gone, if you take those away, those people are going to be filled like they're owed something. And you're going to have a lot of upset people if that happens. Same way if you have, some people are on disability and can't work. Some people are older and they're relying on their Social Security. Some people are on welfare and they're temporarily hurting. I'm not trying to blame nobody for anything, but if you're relying on something like that and that's not available to you, it's going to create problems in your life when it's not there. So while you have the chance and you're getting those things, make sure you make that money that you're getting stretch into areas into the future that can help you. It's like having insurance. You're ensuring that you're setting yourself up best way you possibly can. If a collapse ever happens, you're going to see the best of humanity. Remember if those that were around when 9/11 happened, we all seemed like the country came together and there was a sort of like a special bond. So maybe that happens if anything like a collapse happens, but you're going to see the best of humanity, people going to helping those in need and helping one another. And you're going to see the worst in humanity, people trying to take advantage of the situation. So make sure, again, if you're forming a group or you're trying to establish a relationship, identify people that can help you. Find out your weaknesses and find out what somebody else is an expert in. Whether it's people that are good at irrigation systems, a plumber, a construction worker, a welder, a veterinarian that knows about animals, a farmer that knows how to grow things and knows about your local area, how to garden, whether it's a electrician. Identify those people now while you have a chance. We're in some interesting times, but make sure we just keep our focus on what the bigger picture is. And that bigger picture is for you to survive if the collapse would ever happen. So think about that. Think about the forming relationships and identifying people that you can form a relationship with. And all these other problems that we're seeing build on top of one another. It's just more pieces of the puzzle. And the big picture is that it's not looking too good out there. We got elections coming up this year. Who knows what can happen either way. There's going to be problems either way. Whoever wins, I think there's going to be a problem, created or not. So could be wrong. Who knows? But just make sure you keep your eye on the prize, and that is to survive, obtaining resources for yourself. The more like-minded individuals that you can form a relationship with, the better off you and your family will be to come out the other side in a good position. My name is Isaac. Thank you for clicking on the video. I appreciate y'all. Have a blessed day. Happy Easter to you, and God bless. SE.